Well, speaking of your father, do you think there's any way he or your mother influenced, like the way you love art, or?
I had a teacher there that was Sarah McLennan was her name. She had gotten her PhD at Yale for art history, and she was a wonderful teacher. And according to some of my friends who also knew her because they were in the same class and they either took her class or didn't, she had favorites, and I happened to be one of her favorites. But she sent me postcards from all the small museums like the Isabel Stewart Gardner and the Phillips and the Morgan, the Frick, and would send me a postcard saying, you have to go see this. There was a Titian at the Isabel Stewart Gardner in Boston that was called The Rape of Europa by Titian, and I remember her sending me that card in particular because it was such a grand painting, and I didn't know until I got into her class that Titian was somebody that I'd see year after year in Italy, and that when your mother went with me to Florence the first time, we went to the Uffizi, where there also are some of the greatest paintings in anywhere, but in Italy particularly. And we walked into the room with the Duccio and the Giotto, and the Simone Martini was over on one side. And your mother said, oh my gosh, they're real. I always have liked that comment because I like have somebody really think of them. They were only in slides. I got divorced from your grandfather and came down here. I was very lonely on weekends when he had them, or that they mostly went away to school, so I didn't see them much. I would take refuge in going to some place like the Frick, because you could, in not just a half an hour, but 45 minutes or an hour, you could see loads of treasures of the art world, including one artist that I particularly like called Piero della Francesca, where they have one here. There's one up at the Isabel Stewart Gardner, and there's one at the Clark Museum near where Jesse lives in Massachusetts, and that's all there are of Pieros that exist in this country. The Met doesn't even have one. So I got interested in museums, and also she taught me that looking at it once was all right if you couldn't go to it again, but if you could repeat visiting things that you liked in museums, you didn't have to spend that long standing in front of them. But you could put them in your mind and keep them there.